Hey, everybody, welcome to the Nation, BBQ Nation. I'm JT, along with two Hall of Famers today because it's Thanksgiving coming up and we don't want you to make one mistake. So, of course, we've got Hall of Famer, my co host, Leanne Whippen, and Hall of Famer, Meathead Goldwyn from AmazingRibs.com, or as he just likes to be called, Meathead. So, we're going to jump right into it. Thanksgiving. I actually think Thanksgiving is a harder holiday for most people, not for us, but for most people to cook for because of the size of the bird, all the side dishes, trying to get your timing correct, and all that. I'd like to get your take on that straight out of the gate.
Who goes first? You
Ladies,
go
You.
first.
ladies first.
Oh, okay. Well, most people don't cook for mass quantities of people, and usually Thanksgiving you're cooking for a lot more. So that's one caveat there that makes it more difficult. But I think Thanksgiving dinner sides are things that you can make ahead of time and warm up. So I think that people don't have to be so stressed out that they can try to do that.
That's good. I mean, we all do that. That
Mhm.
cook for the scrambling hordes, but I do think as far as trying to time, you can't really make your mashed potatoes ahead of time. At least I never found the secret to that. And then, managing your turkey, even if you're spatchcocking it, somebody's got to be paying attention. Now, if you
True.
do what they do at Meathead's house, he does the turkey for the family and he spatchcocks it. But I don't think he does anything else but eat pie. Am I correct?
Stuffing. Stuffing.
Stuffing. Yes,
I
that's
I
true.
love stuffing. I think I like it better than the turkey. But to your question, there's a lot of recipes and websites and newspapers and magazines that purport to give you the solution to the ultimate turkey, and I am among them. And the technique I espouse on AmazingRibs.com. And by the way, if you go to our website and sign up for our newsletter now, we send you a 70 plus page ebook on cooking for Thanksgiving,
There you go.
focused on turkey, several different techniques for turkey, including the technique I use. But at the bottom line, it's really not hard. I mean, basically, all you need to do is just sprinkle it with a little salt a day or two in advance. And that makes a little difference. If you don't have time to do that, then it's not the end of the world. And roast it at around 325, 350 until it reaches 160 in the breast, and you're done.
Yeah.
Now, there's 100 different variations, and I'm sure we'll get into it today about seasoning it and rubbing it and what to do with the cavity and so on. And if you want to, make incremental improvements till it is spectacular, we can share some of our tricks and techniques with you.
Sure. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm not a, well, let's jump right into one that you see a lot out there. I'm not a big brining guy. Now, I know some people swear by it. That's perfectly fine. I'm more of the thought and rub some salt on the skin and a little bit on the cavity just for grins and giggles. And that's kind of my deal. I do it that way. Um,
Well, salting, we've talked about this before, but it's worth repeating briefly. Salt is the magic rock. Salt is just sodium chloride, two atoms. Sugar is 23, 24 atoms for most sugars or more. Um, Salt can, when it gets wet on the surface of the turkey, it splits into sodium and chloride ions, and they can migrate deep into the turkey. And when they get there, they can alter the shape of the protein so that it holds moisture better. So
right.
salt is really crucial. If you put sugar and black pepper and garlic, they don't go past the skin. They can't. The molecules are too large. So they'll flavor the exterior, which is fine, but they don't affect the interior or the moisture level or anything else like that. for a while there, about a decade or so ago, everybody was taking their turkeys and dunking them in a big bucket or a beer cooler full of apple juice and black pepper and garlic and all sorts of goodies and salt. And of course, in the process, the salt would penetrate. The other stuff just gets on the surface.
Right.
But everybody seemed to think it would get in there. But if you cut open a turkey breast, you're not going to taste apple juice or
No.
garlic. So we've migrated. I've been a proponent of a technique called dry brining, which is basically what you just described.
Mhm.
And today, son of a gun, the New York Times finally woke up Eric Kim, who's a brilliant cook, and he's espousing dry brining, which of course I've been espousing for more than a decade. And basically, it's just a matter of sprinkle some salt on there. A day in advance is nice to give the salt time to penetrate. He likes 2 or 3 days. That's fine too if you want. But salt will penetrate and it will do its magic. And you don't need to do anything of the other stuff. You don't need the apple juice. You don't need the salt, the garlic, the pepper. You can put that on, and you probably do want to season the skin. I like herbs on the skin of, rosemary, thyme, that sort of thing. But that you can put on just before you cook. You don't need to do that in advance
Right.
because it's not traveling at all. So, yes, your technique of sprinkling it with salt, you put a little more on the thick pieces like the breast than you would on the wings, and away you go.
Yeah.
So do you wash it off?
No, no, it goes in. It doesn't
Mhm.
stay on the surface. It goes in. Do the same with steak. Do the same with burgers. It penetrates. It gets drawn in, and it penetrates. It doesn't pull out the moisture. It doesn't dry. If you've sprinkled a rub, which if you buy a commercial rub and you sprinkle it on meat, you often see it pulls liquid out, but it's not the salt pulling the liquid out. It's the sugar and the other stuff. The salt goes in and it stays in, and it doesn't come out, and it does its magic. It helps moisturize the bird, and it's pretty simple to do. I use Morton kosher salt. My rule of thumb is a half a teaspoon per pound, but you obviously want to put it on a little heavier on the breasts and than you would on the drumstick or the wings.
You do that same process on when you're just buying a breast versus the whole bird because they
Sure.
got those for sale. And what if it's skinless? There's some people that don't like skin. I don't know
Yeah,
why or
same
where
thing.
what planet they came from, but
Same thing. Yeah, I love the skin.
yeah.
Same thing. I mean, just sprinkle it. Again, salt amplifies the flavor without altering it. Garlic alters the flavor. Sugar alters the flavor. Herbs alter the flavor. Salt doesn't. It just turns the dial up to 11.
So another question, you made a post, I think yesterday or the day before. I actually read your stuff. Is I think you
Oh,
Mhm.
figure out once in a while I give it a like. Um, and I'm guilty of trying this. I fell for it about 20 years ago or so, cooking the turkey upside down, thinking that the juice was gonna run down and do it. Doesn't
mm.
do a damn thing. But what
Yeah,
you
that
point,
was another one of these trends that caught on the internet.
yeah,
Even before the internet. There's no super highways in Turkey.
no,
There's no. I mean, the moisture that is in meat is trapped within cells. It's trapped within muscle fibers. It's also in between muscle fibers. It's not like blood that has vessels where, if you stand on your head, the blood will rush to your head. That doesn't happen with any meat, turkey, chicken, breast side down, breast side up. It's not going to enhance the moisture. The moisture stays. Otherwise, you cook breast side down. So what are you going to have? Dry drumsticks? No, it just the moisture just stays there.
I
well,
do,
no,
however, think that injecting, you do get the flavors.
Oh yeah, injecting is a very good way to add moisture and flavor. And a lot of people will just inject with a dilute salt solution, which has the magical effect that salt does. Others will enhance it, and you can inject with butter. Now, if you want to inject with butter, call it butterballing. If you want to inject with butter, don't do it when the bird is cold, because if you are using a needle, it just clogs up the needle, because
Yeah.
the
Right.
cold, even if you're using melted butter, the cold solidifies the butter. What you need to do is you start cooking, and when the bird starts getting warm, like 80, 90 degrees, when butter is still liquid, then you inject during the cooking process. So you can stick butter in there. You can stick um, chicken stock, or just
Hmm.
plain salt water. And there are compounds out there, I know you know about them, that the competition cooks use, that have compounds like phosphates and other things, which are flavor enhancers and also moisturizers.
Yeah, I just like I said, and the worst part about it was because the instructions were cook it upside down for like 2 hours and then flip it over. What a mess that made. I
Mhm.
just remember I had turkey grease everywhere. Uh
Well, there was some sense in flipping it, and you can avoid that. But the sense is most people will cook the turkey in a pan with high sides in
right,
a V-shaped rack. So now you put the bird in there. Now there's water in the bottom of the pan, or liquid in the bottom of the pan. So the oven is surrounding the top half of the bird with 350, 400, whatever your oven temp is. But the bottom half, because of the water, can't go above 212. So now you have a big differential in temperature. The top half is cooking at 300, 350. The bottom half is cooking at maybe 225, 250. And so what you end up with is the bottom half of the bird is flabby and soft and wet and ugly. So if you flip, then you can brown the under half. But
right,
the better technique is to take it out of that V-shaped rack and put a rack on top of the pan, so the bird sits above the pan, and
right,
now the hot air can circulate all around. When you put it in the pan, the hot air bounces off the sides, and the cool liquid below prevents the bottom from cooking evenly. So you just put a rack on top of the pan, or if you're cooking it indoors, I know it sounds goofy, but you put the bird right on the oven rack and put the pan on the oven rack below. Okay, you got a dirty oven rack. When you're done, you got to scrub it, but you get that air circulating all around. Well, of course, on a grill, this is no problem, because you put the pan underneath the grill grate and you catch the drippings down there, and you put the bird on the grill grate, and the warm air circulates all around, all around, all around, all around, and you get a beautifully tan bird.
there you go. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com and fellow Hall of Famer Leanne Whippen right after this.
God help me, I've never sung on your show before, and I don't think I ever will again.
I'm gonna, you know what? AI is gonna pick that up, buddy.
Oh,
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to our Thanksgiving special, How to Cook Your Bird and Survive the Day. We'd like to thank the folks at the Oregon Crab Commission, Dungeness Crab Commission from Sea to Plate. Great stuff there. Been doing a lot with them this year, eating a lot of crab too, I might add. But it's really good stuff. We're
wait a
talking,
minute. Wait a minute.
yeah,
I mean, the light bulb just went off. I've heard of oyster stuffing for turkey.
yeah,
Why not a crab stuffing?
you could.
I mean, that sounds better than oyster stuffing, and I love oysters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
actually
could see,
working.
Crab with some bread, a crab cake,
Yeah.
essentially make a
Yeah,
crab cake.
Exactly.
right.
Now you're talking.
Oh yeah, it put a sweat on you. I'm actually working on a recipe right now. Not to digress too much, but I got a couple of shows coming up when I get back home to do, and one is kind of a crab frittata for breakfast,
Mm.
uh, like for Christmas Eve breakfast or whenever you celebrate. And there's always that breakfast, but nobody wants to eat too much because you're going to have a big dinner later. So I'm working on this kind of crab frittata thing. So it should
Nice.
work out
Nice.
like that. Um, the one, and I want to go back to this just for a second. And in your article, you were talking about the grain of the meat, why it doesn't work tipping the bird upside down because the grain's horizontal, it's not vertical. Okay. And I don't think most people, well, nobody thinks like we do. I mean, that goes to show, but I thought that was a very valid point for, cousin Bill telling you he has the absolute best way to cook a turkey. Then you got the science right there, so it doesn't work that way, Bill. So
Well, first of all, it's not going anywhere anyhow under
yeah,
any circumstances. But yes, that is a fair point. The grain runs horizontal.
yeah, absolutely. So, um, at the top of the show, I talked a little bit about timing, and if you do like Meathead does, and he's assigned to cook the turkey, timing is a relevant term because he's going to try to match the kitchen and what Lou's doing because he's already eaten 2 pies. So like that, I think I think that timing thing in any aspect of cooking is is one of the real keys there. You know,
Mhm.
Leanne, you ran restaurants, you couldn't have your steak done and still waiting for a baked potato to come out of the oven, you know?
That's true.
Yeah, very difficult like that. So when you're working, Leanne, let's start with you. When you're working on your Thanksgiving dinner, um, what's the very first thing you do? I mean, assuming you've got all the ingredients, the turkeys and this and that, what's the very first thing you do?
Well, a lot of people overlook the defrosting time if they're getting a frozen turkey.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to defrost a turkey in a refrigerator, a good 3 days or whatever. You also need to determine how much turkey you need to feed everyone because you think 10-pound turkey, oh, that's going to feed, 10 people. It might, but you always want to have leftovers. So I always go a little bit bigger on my turkeys and I always make my desserts in advance, like pies or whatever kind of dessert. So that's out of the way.
Yeah.
And, mashed potatoes, you can peel your potatoes and put them, with garlic in the water and have that already done and then bring it to a boil. If you're going to do fresh green beans, you can, cut those in advance if you're going to do French green beans, whatever. So I try to do as much prep as possible. So basically, all I'm doing is, and you have to think about if you have one oven, you have to think about the turkey's taken up that real estate. So anything else that's going in the oven, albeit rolls. Now, dinner rolls, you could take the turkey out and then put your rolls in, while you're doing that,
Right.
because they only take 10 minutes or whatever, or if you're just warming them up. But you got to think about what's being done in the oven and what's being done on the stove. So you don't want to have anything else going in the oven with your turkey per se. So I try to make sure that all of my sides I can do stovetop or that I can heat up even in a microwave slowly. And when I'm taking the turkey out, if I can just hold those foods in that warm oven with the residual heat. So that's kind of some of the things I think about.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the more reason to grill or smoke the turkey, is that leaves the
Mhm.
oven open for more pie.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
Absolutely.
I
Now,
got to
here,
tell you something fun that's cool.
sure.
My wife and one of her nieces, who is an adult now, she's in her 40s, they have for 20 years now, on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, had Pie Day. And it used to just be the two of them. They would get together and bake pies. But as the family grew, the kids joined the event. And we've had as many as 14 nieces, nephews from age 3 on up to 20. And they all show up for Pie Day and they all make pies. We serve 3 or 4 pies after dinner. And of course, it's the standards: apple, pumpkin, and pecan. But they always do something wild and crazy, fudgy or something. And then the kids will often make individual pie. But I just think it's wonderful
Oh,
Mhm.
that
yeah.
it's a marvelous event, and they all get together and they have a laugh session for hours, and flour everywhere, and it's just very cool.
That's the one day a year, folks, that Meathead does not leave the house. That's it.
It's not here, and I'm not invited,
Oh my God. The trauma.
and you can guess why.
So something you just touched on, and this is the voice of experience here. If you're gonna like cook your turkey in a pellet grill, uh, make sure your pellet grill has been cleaned. Make sure that there's fresh pellets, that the burn pot is clean. If you can get a vacuum up through the auger, get that clean. We are in November, a lot more moisture in the air and all that. And I can tell you that I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of pellet grills. Most people don't. And I learned the hard way out there. My future son-in-law came in one day on Thanksgiving and he said, "Is it supposed to be smoking like that?" And I said, "Well, it's, just getting started." He goes, "No, no, no." And I looked out
Mhm.
there and it was ugly
Mhm.
and didn't really hurt the turkey, but it was a mess in the
Mhm.
smoker. So
Mm.
just word of experience there. Make sure your auger's working. You got fresh pellets. Like I said, it's cleaned out. The grates are cleaned out, especially if you want to try to do what Meathead said. If you've got a two rack tier system in there and you want to put a pan below your bird, whatever, even if you're spatchcocking, make sure it's cleaned up. There. That's Jeff's words of wisdom for you.
There you
Amen.
go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just do that. So, I without pie, now, Meathead, I know this is going to send you into convulsions, but without pie, what's your favorite part of the Thanksgiving dinner?
The stuffing. I love stuffing. I actually, I mean, I really work hard at the bird, and I do some fun stuff with the bird, and I make it as good as I possibly can. And I've tried every technique on earth, and it's about as good as you can get turkey. But when you get down to it, turkey is kind of bland, even if you've injected it and you've seasoned it and you've dry brined it and cooked it to exactly the right temperature and everything. It's not a real strong, flavorful piece of meat, not even as strong as chicken. Um, but boy, that stuffing, if you get to work on that. And just a basic, go to the Pepperidge Farm box, read the recipe off the box. That's a good one. But there's a bazillion different fun stuffing. I mean, we talked about oyster
Right.
stuffing. I've seen that out there. I've never tried it, but I know people make it. Cornbread stuffing with chorizo or andouille. Um, I've seen. We have a recipe on our website that I have tried for slider stuffing. You get frozen hamburgers in a box, sliders, and you chop them up. You throw them in the blender, and you add some chicken stock and other things. It makes a really nice stuffing.
Mm.
Just a whole bunch of fun stuffings. But I make a pretty standard um, sage-based
Right.
breadcrumb stuffing, and we save breadcrumbs and from all, we just had a loaf of French bread the other day. We were cutting it up and we were using it, and there was a big pile of crumbs left. We save it in a jar, and that goes into stuffing. And but my favorite thing, and you mentioned it earlier, is first of all, you do not want to put stuffing in the bird, and I think we're all three agreed on that. Um,
No.
no, okay, okay. I will make the case that when you stuff the bird, you have to cook the stuffing because the juices in the turkey are not safe, and the juices in the turkey get into the stuffing. So the center of the stuffing must be cooked to a safe temperature, which is 160, or USDA says 165. I think 160 is safe. So you've got to cook the stuffing to 160. Well, if warm air is working its way down through the skin, into the meat, into the stuffing, to the center of the stuffing, while it's progressing, it's heating the exterior of the bird. The skin and the outer layers are warming up, and they get hotter than the interior because the heat builds up in the outside and water evaporates. And so you're going to end up with a drier bird. You're cooking a bowling ball. It's a big thermal mass. And so you're just flirting with dry turkey, I think. Now, I love the stuffing, but the juices from the bird are really not altering the stuffing much.
Right.
So if you're going to do a Norman Rockwell bird, don't put the stuffing in there because it'll cook faster if warm air can get into the cavity. And don't stick oranges in there and other things. Let warm air get in there. It'll cook faster and you'll have a moister bird. What I like to do with the stuffing is I make the stuffing and I'll mix in a little egg. And if you go to AmazingRibs.com, we have a recipe there for what I call stuffing muffins, because I put them in a muffin pan. And that way, everybody gets a muffin made of stuffing that has a really crispy top, and everybody wants crispy stuffing. And when you stuff the bird, there's just that little round section sticking out of the back end that gets crispy. All the rest is very soft and wet. When you make stuffing muffins, you get crispy around the edges, crispy around the top, and they just look cool. A muffin full of stuffing, and everybody gets exactly the same amount. Nobody gets more crispy than anybody else. And I think the bird will cook faster and better without the stuffing. Now you can refute me, please.
I guess it's just I like that Norman Rockwell.
That's fine.
I've never really had trouble with my stuffing coming to temp. And the breast meat, and I'm a brine person, whether it be dry or wet, to help with that moisture, and that usually gets me out of the problem of a dry turkey breast.
So the next question is, and I'll go first, giblets or no giblets? I'm a big giblet fan, and I've talked about this before. I grew up on a farm. We didn't waste anything. We have a store here in my little town that actually sells big packages of turkey giblets. And I buy 2 packages. Don't everybody get grossed out now. One to cook for me that I munch on for 2 or 3 days, and one that I cook, trim, and slice up and put in the stuffing. And sometimes I put them in the gravy, depending on who the audience is, you might say. And some people are just aghast that, you're eating an organ like that. To me, it's just a kind of another version of dark meat. So there's my case for that.
I
Well,
use it
Leanne,
to make my stock, and that's what I use in the stuffing. So, but don't use the liver.
Right.
No, 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 no.
Because the liver will make, cloudy and gross.
Right.
But yeah, and I actually brown those in a pan first, and then I add my liquid to it. I just feel it enhances the flavor, and then add your celery, carrot, onion,
Right.
peppercorns, bay leaf, whatever you want to do. And that is the base for my gravy, which brings me to gravy being my favorite part, because it goes on the stuffing and the turkey and the mashed potatoes. And I really believe in a really good gravy. And it also, if your turkey happens to be dry, it makes it a little forgiving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely. I set the livers aside. We freeze them, and I'll make a pate, or sometimes I just give it to the dog. But the gizzard, what I do is, and this is a wonderful technique. As I mentioned, I put the bird on the rack of the grill, and under it I put a pan. And in that pan, I put the neck, I put the gizzards, I trim all the excess skin from around both cavities, the tips of the wings, which are going to burn. I throw them in there. Then I throw in some carrots, some celery, an apple, either some chicken stock or water and wine, and then the herbs, sage and whatever herbs I feel in the mood. And I fill that pan a lot with essentially the makings of turkey soup. It's a turkey stock. And as the bird cooks, it drips, and it drips into the pan, and smoke collects on the surface of the pan. So you have this marvelous turkey stock under the bird. And so when the bird hits about 150, my target's 160. When it hits about 150, I'll pull that pan out, I'll strain it, I'll taste it. If it's fine, it's fine. If it's a little weak, I'll put it in a pot on the top of the stove and reduce it somewhat. And it's a fabulous gravy. And I don't add flour or anything to thicken it, because if you pour your regular traditional gravy with a flour base on top of turkey, it doesn't really penetrate the meat. It just sits on top. Now, it's great flavor, though. But this stock, which is thin and watery, will penetrate the meat. It adds a great deal of flavor, and it's also
Mm.
great for adding to the stuffing to moisturize the stuffing. And I usually, if you do it that way, there's usually at least a quart left over after Thanksgiving, which I just drink. I pour it in a coffee mug, and it is just, I mean, it's turkey soup. It's
Right.
just fantastic.
My favorite thing on Friday, I will take a plate or a bowl, doesn't matter, but I will put some stuffing in it and I will put some mashed potatoes in it. And then I just load it up with the gravy. This is kind of Jeff's version of what you just said, except I don't drink it. And I'm happy as a clam sitting there watching college football or whatever,
Mhm.
eating that combination of stuff. I mean, it'll put you to sleep with that many carbs and stuff, but what a way to go. I just love it.
I do the turkey sandwich. I take sliced turkey breast,
Mhm.
put the cranberries on top of that, and a little gravy on top of that, and a couple of slices of bread, and oh man,
Good to go. Good to
Mhm.
go. And with your stuffing muffins, to me, they're kind of like a dinner dunking donut in gravy. You have you can have a little ramekin or something with gravy there and just
yeah,
dunk
you
them
can
in there.
tear them off. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, that's really good stuff.
my wife makes a turkey pot pies after Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
Yeah.
They're really good. I mean, just like
Mhm.
chicken pot pie.
Yeah.
Right.
My mom used to make turkey soup afterwards, and it wasn't the best.
Well,
Uh,
now I was mentioning the what I put under the bird. I gotta confess, and this will probably get me kicked off the air, and anybody listening will stop listening. I don't even spatchcock anymore.
really?
I break it
Oh.
down into 8 pieces. I separate the drumstick and the thigh from the body. I cut the breasts off the bones. I cut the wings off and cook them individually so I can use my instant read thermometer and get those breasts and thighs at the optimum temperature. And I go to my brother-in-law's house and he does a Norman Rockwell turkey with the stuffing and everything. And so everybody gets to see a big, beautiful bird. And I just bring mine over there in a beer cooler, keeping it hot. And it's all broken down and it's cooked
Mhm.
that way. It's brown on all sides. It's tender, it's juicy. Each piece is cooked to optimum temperature. And when I do that, I have a carcass. And that carcass goes in that pan underneath the bird as it cooks. I break the bones and that
Mm.
stock now is enriched with the marrow and the connective tissues. It's all in between the ribs and all the bones. And so that's the coup de grace for my gravy.
There you
Mhm.
go. We're going to take a break. We're going to come. Well, we might go eat because this is making me
Yeah, I
hungry.
know.
And,
I'm
and
getting
then we'll be
hungry.
right back. You're listening to Barbecue Nation with Jeff, Leanne, and Meathead. Stop.
At an appropriate time, Jeff, if you'll give me a chance, um, I think I've said this before on the show, but I've got a little something fun to say about Thanksgiving.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay. Welcome back to Barbecue Nation. I'm JT, along with Hall of Famer Leanne Whippen and Hall of Famer Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Again, we'd like to thank the folks at Painted Hills Natural Beef, the Oregon Dungeness Crab Commission, and pig powder. Can you use pig powder on turkey, Leanne?
You sure can.
Yeah.
It's
Is
excellent on turkey. But I like more savory turkey, like sagey,
yeah.
earthy. And I'm gonna have to go to Meathead for his poultry seasoning because I love
I love you,
that.
and I use that stuff too.
It
Yeah.
really
I
is delicious.
it
And you know what, even in the stuffing.
that's very French, and
Hmm.
it's very Leanne because you have classic chef palate, and the French have they call it poultry seasoning, and basically
Yeah,
that's what my chicken rub is. It's poultry seasoning.
yeah.
and it's got my own little twist on it, but you've been very generous in praising it. And when you run
It's
out, let me know. I'll ship you a refill.
thank you.
Um,
But anyway, pink powder, yeah, it's good if you want sweet with a little heat. It's excellent. So, and you have to give it a very, this is true for turkey. You have a lot of meat underneath. So when you season your bird, you need to season it as much as that will hold because your meat to skin ratio, you won't taste the spices if you don't spice it up enough. Even with salt and pepper, you got to hit it pretty hard. So don't under season your turkey.
There you go.
Mhm.
Meathead, you had something you wanted to address?
yeah, I just wanted to forgive me for being a little maudlin or philosophical, but I think Thanksgiving is the coolest of all the holidays because now I know some people will do a ham or maybe some sort of goose or something else for Thanksgiving, but raviolis or something. But most of us cook turkey, and
Mhm.
most of us have cranberries, and most of us have sweet potatoes, and it's a menu that most of us share all across this country,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of politics, race, religion, all the division that we've just had over an election. We hold hands on Thursday and we eat the same meal. We break bread together. We rejoice together over the same food. It's like one big giant family dinner. And
Mhm.
I just don't know of any society, any race, religion, country around the world that has anything similar. And I think it's just truly marvelous. And it makes it a special holiday, especially since for those of us who love food and who love cooking, it's a holiday that is centered around food. And we have many other holidays which are religious or, 4th of July, which is, essentially political. But this
Mhm.
is a food holiday. It's
Mhm.
our holiday. And I just think it's unequaled and really inspirational.
Mhm. I
I
agree.
would agree with you there. I think that um I don't send emails to me, folks.
Mhm.
Christmas dinner, not the event of Christmas of having family around and stuff, but Christmas dinner uh to me is a very nice, very wonderful thing. But usually at the end of Christmas dinner, I'm exhausted. And I don't know what the difference is. I cook just as much food at Christmas as I do at Thanksgiving. But I would agree with you that Thanksgiving is centered around the food and giving thanks.
Mhm.
Period. There's not a lot of attachments to it, like gift giving and trying to make it to Aunt Mabel's by 2, and so we can get out of there at 4 and go to mom and dad's at 6 or whatever. Uh, and we've all suffered through that in our lives at Christmas, and I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but I really think that Thanksgiving is a way to give thanks. And speaking of that, you both know something I did a couple weeks ago. But I would say this: if you know anybody that's having trouble, and especially a veteran, maybe they don't want to come to your house, maybe they can't, whatever. Fix them something to eat. There's 150 million pounds of leftovers on Thanksgiving. Fix a plate for somebody and take it and find them and give it to them. That may be the only real meal they have for days. I don't
Mhm.
know. Everybody's situation is unique, but I've really become a champion of that, if you will, because
Yes.
I think that uh, it pisses me off to see anybody go hungry, but it meant more so, and this is my own selfish reasons because of my family and stuff, but to see veterans um, who served our country and served us, and we could certainly serve them a few meals. So,
Well, you still are, and I should point out that you were recently given a special award by the Clark
Mhm.
County Veterans Assistance Center for that work that you do for veterans. And that is so cool. And it was a very special event. I saw a video of it. I mean, there weren't 20 guys getting this award, it was you. and that is so admirable. And I
Thank
thank
you.
you, and
Yeah.
the country thanks you.
Mhm.
This year, for the first time, since it's at my brother-in-law's house, he is inviting two training sailors from the Glenview Naval Air Station,
Oh,
which is
cool.
north of Chicago. The orphans, they're up,
Yeah.
they're up there training, and for Thanksgiving, and a lot of the trainees go home, but some can't go home. It's too far, they can't afford it, or whatever. So he's having two of them over,
That's nice.
and
Good for
I
him.
think I think that's very cool of him.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I, I'll say it again. If you can, the term giving thanks, which is what the holiday is around for, and thanks for our country, I just think it's important if you can help out a veteran there with a good meal, do it. There you go. I'll get off my soapbox now. So, anyway, all right, we've got about a minute and a half left, but after hours is coming up with some very interesting questions that we're going to test Leanne and Meathead with. Favorite pie, and do you make excess pies so you have one? I've said this before on the
Wait a minute.
show.
What is this term excess pie?
Well, it's kind of a I
I've
don't
never
know.
heard of such a thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was trying to think of the right term to sarcastically. I was going to. I make an extra, but this year I'm not going to. But I always make an extra pecan pie, and I put it in our outdoor fridge, and nobody knows it's there except me. My wife doesn't eat pecan pie, so I'm a happy camper, and I've got pecan pie from Thursday to Sunday. You know what I mean? And there's an extra bowl of each day of handmade whipped cream, or I get a fresh tub of ice cream and stash it out there, depending on what I want. And that's the way I handle it.
Now, exactly where is this outdoor fridge?
Leanne knows.
I
Leanne
do.
knows.
Because
I
pecan
do.
is my favorite pie too.
Leanne knows.
It
Yeah.
is my favorite pie too. So let's not eat together. We'll have a problem. And I do make like when I get a head count on how many people are going to be there, I don't make the exact amount of slices, a one-on-one ratio. It's usually 2 to 1 because
Right.
sometimes people want to try both of them. So you cut a slice in half and
You're right.
it's always been a problem in our family are the pies because that's where the argument starts. Albeit Thanksgiving or not, that's where the argument starts. So I make excess pies, not just because I like to eat pie after Thanksgiving, but just to avoid the arguments.
Yeah.
Well, I talked about my wife and her niece and their pie day. And because there's so many, I think it's around 14 of them this year is scheduled. There's quite a lot of pie.
Yeah.
And of course, I feel obligated to try them all.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
oh
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, there's always the three traditional apple, pumpkin, and pecan, but they often do two or one or two or three more, and there's always plenty. And
Hmm.
oh boy,
Uh,
that is a great way to top off this marvelous meal.
Yes.
Absolutely. I throw in a cherry pie, and I also throw in a cream cheese pie, which is very
Mm.
simple, folks. I'll tell you, the recipe is here. You don't even have to write it down. You take one of those small cans of condensed milk and 1 8-ounce brick of cream cheese and a couple of drops of lemon in there. You got to wait till the cream cheese can be beat up and stuff. So it's got to, warm
Hmm.
up a bit. Anyway, beat that up with that condensed milk in there, pour it in a graham cracker crust, and put it in the fridge the day before. Because it takes a while for it to set up. One of the richest pies you'll ever eat. And you can put
Mm,
cherries, strawberries, blueberries,
Mm.
no berries, whatever you want,
mm,
kiwi,
mm.
put it all on the top there. Anyway, we got to get out of here, but we
Mm.
will be sticking around, all three of us, for after hours. Meathead, thank you as always. And
Thank you, and best wishes to you and all your listeners and Leanne for a delicious and thankful Thanksgiving, and always fun to talk to you.
It
Yeah.
is. We
Happy
always
Thanksgiving to you both and all of our listeners.
Yeah. So here's what's going to happen, folks. This show airs right before Thanksgiving. And so on Thanksgiving weekend, we'll be doing a best of show. So I hope you enjoy your family and the football. Stay out of the malls and Black Friday events for your own public safety and enjoy the weekend. Until then, take care. And remember, don't forget, go to amazingribs.com to find out all the stuff Meathead's talking about. And remember, it's most important on this holiday. Turn it, don't burn it. See you next time. Hey, everybody, welcome to After Hours here on BBQ Nation. I'm JT, along with my co-host, Leanne Whippen, Hall of Famer, I might add, and Meathead Goldwyn from AmazingRibs.com, or as he just likes to be referred to as Meathead. This is After Hours, and as I promised in the regular show, I'm not even sure where I found a lot of these. These are Thanksgiving trivia questions, a lot of statistics. So, like I promised, there would be a test. So here you go. But they're kind of fun. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No.
Okay. How many balloons were featured in the 2023 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade? Those are those big Bullwinkle things.
I don't know how many were in, but I've been seeing these commercials for that insurance company with
Oh,
the
yeah.
emu, and they do a balloon thing. They better goddamn not have that emu and the guy with the mustache in the
I love the
Thanksgiving
emu.
parade, or I'm done. I'm not watching it ever again.
I would say that they have 40.
Wow.
Okay. Meathead,
I'll take the under at 30.
you're closer. It's 25, actually.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a lot of balloons. When I was a boy, I lived on Long Island, and my grandpa would take me to the Macy's parade.
Well, that was cool.
And it was the coolest thing.
Mm.
And the one memory that sticks in my mind is there was a guy walking a turkey on a leash, and the turkey's feet were bleeding.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just, a 10-year-old kid, this sticks to your mind. And
Yeah.
I can still see it. But he was marching down, I guess, Fifth Avenue, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, my wife and I flew into New York between Thanksgiving and Christmas and spent 3 or 4 days. And it was one of those weird weather breaks where it was in the 70s
Mm.
and there was no slush and there was no snow. But if you've never been to New York during the Christmas season, you have to go.
Oh,
The
yes.
city is alive and colorful. And I don't
Mhm.
care how you could be in a foul mood, you could be mourning somebody you love. It is just uplifting. And Leanne, if you go, you've got to go see the windows at Bergdorf Goodman. Oh my God, are they spectacular?
Yeah. I actually lived in Manhattan for a while,
You've
so
lived everywhere.
it was a wonderful experience being in New York during the holidays
I bet it
and New
was.
Year's Eve, of course. But yeah.
Okay. Well, here's one. Let's see. Test your knowledge here. According to a recent poll, what Thanksgiving side dish is the least popular among Americans? Least popular.
Cranberries.
Green bean casserole.
Green bean casserole it is.
Wow.
I like it.
I love green bean
I
casserole.
love the Durkee's onions, the crunchy. In fact, I've been known to buy a can of those and just
Munch
sneak
them. Yeah. Yeah.
They sell them in bulk at Sam's Club.
Ah, I'm the only human on earth who's never been in Sam's Club.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But
On average,
you can get jars of it. I think it's not Durkee's anymore. It's
French's.
French's.
Does, yeah.
Mhm.
On average, how many questions does the Butterball Turkey Talk Line field from callers during the holiday season?
Bazillion.
10,000.
Well, Leanne's
think
actually closer, but yeah, go.
I think they're based here in the Chicago area, and they hire like 100 ladies.
Huh.
They average 100,000.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So, um, According to lendingtree.com, why the hell they're doing a survey, I have no idea. How many guests on average does a Thanksgiving host expect to serve? And this was a survey was done in 2023.
8.
6.
11.
Wow.
I am bombing every question.
Yeah.
Okay, Meathead, you're a dog guy. So, with 15 best in show titles, what dog breed has had the most wins at the National Dog Show, which airs on Thanksgiving Day? What breed?
I don't know. And I have watched this show, and it's never the same breed twice. I mean, if I were judging, it would be golden retrievers.
Well, of course.
But I don't think I've ever seen them win. And I've had a number of labs whom I'm madly in love with. I think some of the large poodles may have won. I'll go with them.
Okay, Leanne?
What about the infamous Whippets?
Oh,
There you go. Well, you both tanked on this one. It's
Saint
a
Bernard?
wire fox terrier.
Oh,
Okay. Easy one here. Are pumpkins technically a fruit or vegetable?
they're fruit.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. How many
have-
how many
Or
calories?
Mhm.
Yes. How many calories are in a typical Thanksgiving holiday dinner?
A bazillion.
There you go with that bazillion again.
2,500.
Close,
No.
3,000. I'll give you the win
Hmm.
on that, Leanne.
Thank you.
Here you go. Meathead should get this one. Referred to as the pumpkin capital of the U.S., what town is home to the Libby's pumpkin canning plant?
I don't know the town, but I think it's here in Illinois.
Yeah, Morton, Illinois, to be
Morton,
exact.
Illinois.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Illinois is also the world capital of horseradish.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
They grow more horseradish here than anybody else.
Huh.
Okay. Here's a. If you don't know this one, you can't be on the show anymore. What temperature should a turkey be cooked at for safe eating?
165.
There you go.
That's what USDA says, and I think we're not going to get into the science
No.
here. But
Nope.
I think 165 is a bit too high for a little dry. I recommend 160.
I think
And
they've
it's
changed the
perfectly safe.
rules. If you hot hold a turkey at 160 for X amount of time, it's still safe according
Exactly,
to
that's
their
the
guidelines.
point.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody
okay.
who's
Yeah.
done sous vide knows it's not
Mhm.
just temperature; it's time
time.
and
Mhm.
temperature. And if
Okay.
you pull it at 160, it's going to stay there for long enough to be safe.
Right.
When was the first Thanksgiving feast held? I want a year. The first Thanksgiving feast held. So go back to your history class in grade school. I know for me it was a long time ago.
Well, I've read some really interesting stuff about the version that we were all taught in school and what really happened.
That's the next question. So
The
don't.
Wampanoags and did they really share and stuff like that? And but it was in the 1500s, wasn't it? Early 1500s.
Leanne?
1626.
God, you're close. 1621.
Damn.
Yeah.
Did you Google that?
No, my
Jesus.
eyes have been peeled to you. I haven't looked down.
Okay. Well, what was on the menu of the first Thanksgiving?
I believe they had deer, among other things. I don't think turkey was on the menu.
I think they
There
had
were
corn.
gourds and the things that they had grown.
Yeah, like corn.
Yeah.
They had venison, goose, duck, fish, and porridge or bread made from corn.
Hmm.
There you
Yeah, they
go.
wouldn't have had fresh corn because it's done by then. In New England,
Right.
there's no fresh corn in November.
What hurricane made landfall on Thanksgiving Day in the year 2016? I didn't know this one.
Leanne.
Nope. I've never had one named after me.
We'll fix that. Well, I'm writing to the hurricane.
Weather Bureau or whoever names
Oh,
that. Those
We
I
need a
have no
Hurricane
idea.
Leanne.
I have no idea.
Otto, Hurricane Otto,
Man,
OTTO. Yeah. Well, they do that. We had just had Milton. We had
well,
Yeah.
for
Helene and
years it was
Milton.
just women.
You're right. But what U.S. founding father referred to turkeys as a bird of courage?
Oh, it was Ben Franklin.
There you go.
Oh,
Yep.
good job.
Well,
Yep.
he tried to make it the national bird.
Hmm.
The
He
eagle
did.
beat
He
him out.
did. He did.
Interesting.
Which two NFL teams have played a game on Thanksgiving Day since 1966? This is an easy one.
I know the answer. I'll give Leanne a crack since I've been shooting off my mouth too fast.
How about my boys, the Giants?
No,
No?
no.
When you said boys, you were close.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Dallas and Detroit.
There's only 36 teams to choose from. That is correct, Meathead.
Dallas and Detroit. They're always
Oh,
on Thanksgiving.
Well, that's not
The
going to be
other-
a good game. Detroit's going to destroy them.
Well, they don't play each other. They play other teams.
Oh,
They play other
okay.
teams, yeah.
All
Because if they
right.
played each
usually,
other,
usually Detroit gets the Bears.
and your Bears, they're hanging in there.
They're hanging in, but
Yeah,
Detroit's
they-
going to crush them.
They're going to fire the coach this year. And,
Yeah.
but there's the building blocks are here. I think they'll be pretty decent next year.
There you go.
Hmm.
How long should leftover turkey be stored? I mean, like, how long can you keep it in the fridge till you shouldn't eat it?
Well, if it's smoked, it's going to last longer if we want to get technical about it. But I would say, I don't know, 3 days, 4 days.
Yeah, I 3 or 4 days is probably really safe. Possibly you can push it to a week. The key here is, and to digress slightly, is everybody needs to check the temperature on their refrigerator,
Right.
Mhm.
as well as their oven. Their oven is not accurate, I guarantee that. If you've got a good thermometer, get it in your fridge, get it in your oven, but your fridge needs to be between 33 and 38. And if it's in that range, things will keep longer. But if you go up over 40,
True.
they're
Yeah.
going to deteriorate faster and possibly be unsafe. So I actually have I bought it from ThermoWorks. They sell a little tiny fridge thermometer that suction cups on the side. And because the setting on my fridge is inaccurate.
Mhm.
Okay. That's a good idea. How many of the original pilgrims survived the first winter in America?
Oh, not many.
Mhm.
I don't know, but
I don't
it
know,
was a
it's-
small number. I think
Just give me
many
a
of them.
percentage. You don't have to give me an
Oh,
exact
okay.
number. Yeah.
20.
Okay. Leanne,
25.
half of them did.
Wow.
Yeah. Half
Bill,
of them.
that's a lot of dead bodies.
That's a lot of bodies.
Mhm.
Which founding father once proclaimed no citizen of the U.S. shall refrain from turkey on Thanksgiving Day? This question doesn't make sense, but you can give me your answers, but it doesn't make
Well,
sense.
it wouldn't be anybody who was hanging around during the Depression.
No, no,
So it's not Hoover or,
no. The answer is way before that.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Lincoln.
before that.
Oh,
Really?
boy.
Yeah,
Andy Jackson.
getting closer. Alexander Hamilton, but Thanksgiving wasn't proclaimed a
Wait,
holiday
wait,
till
whoa.
Lincoln.
Did you say president?
No, I said
Hamilton.
Alexander Hamilton.
No, but was the question president?
No citizen.
Oh, citizen.
It said
Because Hamilton was never president.
right. It just said which founding father once proclaimed no citizen of the U.S. shall refrain from turkey on Thanksgiving Day. But Thanksgiving wasn't a national holiday till Lincoln
That's right.
was president.
Lincoln made it a national holiday.
So 100 years later, more or less. So
I would flush that question.
I will. I will. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to say this in the show and I forgot to. And we talked about this a little bit before. When I get a turkey, and if I can't get a fresh turkey, I get a frozen turkey like everybody else. and you're supposed to leave it in the fridge for 3 or 4 days, whatever. Different people say different things, but it's a long time, like Leanne pointed out.
Mhm.
I actually jumpstart the thawing process. I leave it on the counter when I get home for a couple of hours to kind of get that process started. And then I go throw it in that spare fridge where the pie is going to ultimately reside for
Mhm.
just a few minutes.
Mhm.
But that's because if you don't, and I mean, if you buy your turkey this coming Tuesday and Thanksgiving is 2 days away, you're going to have some
There's
issues.
no way, because if you get like a 22-pound bird, that thing is going to take a week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
the rule of thumb is, I mean, there are a whole bunch of guides out there about how many days for how many pounds, and of course that depends on the temperature of your fridge. Just make sure you've got the bird in the fridge thawing at least Sunday at the latest. Saturday would be
Mhm.
better. That gives you
Mhm.
4 or 5 days. And by the way, little known fact, the USDA says turkey at 26 degrees can be called fresh. At 26 degrees, I call it a bowling ball.
I
So,
agree.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, this whole idea that it's a fresh turkey, it's frozen at 26 degrees.
Yes, it is.
That is disgraceful, and the USDA needs to change their rule on this. But um, there is actually a place not far from me where you can walk in and you can point at a live turkey strutting around and say, "I want him."
Ooh.
And I've done that, and it was terrible. And you know why? It went through rigor mortis, and I didn't know it
Oh
would.
my
yeah.
God.
Yeah, they killed it, and then I had it for dinner the next night. It was just hard and awful. And
Oh,
meat animals go through rigor mortis after slaughter,
Oh yeah.
and they need several days for the enzymes to
Break loose.
tenderize and break
Yeah.
down.
mhm.
And I didn't know that, and it was just the worst turkey I ever had.
Wow.
Okay.
I thought I was going to in for the best.
Which U.S. president was the first to officially pardon a turkey?
Mm.
I think it was later. I'm going to say Reagan.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
I was going to go with Truman.
It was older Bush, George H.W.
Really?
Oh,
in 1989. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Which retailer? Now you both should know this. Which retailer was the first to host a Thanksgiving Day parade? And I'll give you a hint. Macy's was not the first one. There was another big retailer prior.
Woolworth.
No, that
Gimbals?
Gimbals. It was Gimbals.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
wow.
that was
Good
just a wild
job.
guess because Miracle on 34th Street was competition between Macy's and Gimbals.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Good call.
Okay. Here's some more history here. How many passengers were on the original Mayflower?
None.
Passengers?
Yeah.
No, you're not
Weren't,
counting. You're not
weren't they all
counting
working?
staff.
Do pets count?
75?
Marvin, get in here.
That's right. There were animals on there too.
I thought
All
it was a
right.
trick question.
No. Well, it kind of is actually. There was 102 people on the Mayflower when it
Hmm.
came out. And I don't know if when the last time y'all went to Boston, but a few years ago, I took the Mayflower tour. This is a life-size replica of the Mayflower.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I'm 6 foot tall. Okay. I had to duck going into every
Hmm.
threshold
Mhm.
type thing
Yeah.
like that. But I couldn't, and they told us then too, there was 102 people on the ship. I couldn't see putting 102 people on that ship. You would have had like 4 square inches of movable area per
Hmm.
person. It was
Hmm.
it was because it's not a very big ship.
Hmm.
Um,
And can you imagine? I mean, the slave ships.
So
oh
what's the
God,
answer? What's the
Yeah,
answer?
they were worse.
102, 102.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, what notable Native American, excuse me, served as an interpreter between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans?
Oh, I know this. Pocahontas's boyfriend.
Captain Smith?
I can't remember his name.
I
John
don't
something.
know.
Squanto.
I would not have known that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I would not have known that.
Okay, a couple more here, and we'll. How many calories are in a half cup of bread stuffing? This, and folks, if you're listening to this, this does not count Leanne's, meatheads, or my stuffing because this is very undervalued here. But how many calories are in a
First
half
of
a
all,
cup?
I don't want to know.
I'd
Okay.
say only like 210.
Sounds like a good number to me. I don't
They
want
said
to know. I mean, I'm not
Hun-
counting. Nobody
100
counts. That's in fact, that's a rule. Nobody
don't.
counts calories on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Against the law. It's
Well,
un-American.
How much?
118.
Oh, not bad
That's
at all.
that's way undervalued. That's way undervalued.
Well, that's probably just dry.
Well, if you think about
peppered
it,
farm.
a half a cup of bread is probably, like a slice of bread, and you're using stock. They're really, and carrots, celery, it's really kind of low calorie from that point of view. So
Yeah,
I
she's
get
right.
it.
Yeah, a
I
slice
put-
of bread is under 150. So
I
Mhm.
put a little butter in mine though. Okay, which state raises the most turkeys or did in 2023?
West Virginia.
Boy, that's
Country
a good-
roads take me home.
that's an interesting guess. Well, Iowa's pork.
You're not
North-
far from it.
North Carolina. Oh, Iowa's close.
No, meathead is
Minnesota.
yes.
Wow.
Genio turkeys,
Oh,
butterball,
yeah.
butterball.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there you go. Okay, last question. This one's open for discussion in a way. What are the 4 ingredients go into making a basic pie crust?
Well, I'll let you do this one.
Okay. Flour.
Yep.
Does water count, like ice
Yes,
water?
yeah.
Okay. And then you've got to have your either butter, Crisco, or your greasy stuff and
Or
salt.
lard.
And salt. Perfect.
And salt.
Yeah.
And
You nailed it. You nailed it.
You ever
Yeah.
cook? You ever bake a pie with lard, Leanne?
No, but I've wanted to try one with bacon grease, a pecan pie with bacon grease. There was a restaurant
Ooh.
that did that, and I have to this day been wanting to try that.
Ooh,
Mhm.
we save bacon grease, and I'll bet you guys remember. I don't know if young kids has. My mom always had a tin can sitting
Yep.
next to the stove,
Yep.
and the
Chock
bacon
full of
grease.
nuts.
Yeah, the old chock. They still make chock full of nuts coffee. My wife
did
buys
not
it.
know
It's not
that.
bad. But we always had a can. It was a vegetable can, not chock full of nuts, but sitting beside the stove, and all the grease went in, and it sat at room temperature.
Isn't
Yep.
it amazing we're all alive?
Well, we use that on the farm. You could use it to put some grease in the pan, so to speak, or if you had a boo-boo on your finger or the dog had a little cut, that bacon grease would go right on
No
there.
kidding.
No kidding. Yeah.
Huh.
That's true. That's very
That's
true.
interesting.
Yeah. So I think people would freak out if you went out in the desert to the ranches and stuff, the cooks probably still do that. But if you
Right.
did in a metropolitan area,
I'm sure Kent Rollins has
I'm sure he
a
does, too.
1-gallon can of bacon grease sitting in it.
yeah, right next to the other can next to the axle grease for his wagon, type thing. But it's
And if your listeners don't know who Kent Rollins is, go to YouTube and look him up. Kent Rollins.
yeah,
You'll fall in love instantly.
he also goes by the Cowboy Cook, and we've never had a problem with that. And he does some great work there. Okay, last goofy question, and then I'm done.
Mhm.
What movie holds the record for the highest grossing weekend in Thanksgiving history? What movie holds the record for the highest grossing weekend in Thanksgiving history?
Jurassic Park. I don't know.
Okay. She's probably close.
No, she's not.
Not
It would be
close.
one of the. It would be one of the. You're talking about on television, right? Or
No, in a movie theater.
in movie theaters.
Yeah. But
So
now,
it would
hell,
have to be a new release.
yeah,
Miracle on 34th Street.
no.
It's
That's a
a
good guess, but no.
it's a Wonderful Life.
No, I'm
Willy
afraid
Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
you're
Meet Me in
actually
St. Louis.
okay. Hold on to your biscuits here, folks. It's Frozen 2.
Oh, that's surprising.
I've never seen either of one
I've
or
seen
I
two.
it
think I
one
saw Frozen
bazillion
1.
times because of my
I think I saw Frozen
granddaughter.
1, not Frozen
Yeah.
2.
That's kind of on the same plane as when our daughter was little. I watched that goddamn Free Willy movie a
Mhm.
million times with Merce. She loved
Mhm.
it. And then I was doing some work in Beaumont, Texas, doing a show in Beaumont. And we came back to Houston and gathered her and Shelly up, and then my brother and sister in law and their daughter. And we are driving up. We go through San Antonio and we go to SeaWorld, right? Go to SeaWorld. She's all excited. She's going to see Free Willy and all this. And we get there and they let the big whale out and he's kind of warming up. And right in front of us in the tank, he kind of goes shooting out of the water. That kid ran so fast as a 2 or 3 year old, however she was, she climbed up over me, over the seats behind me, ran up the stairs, and she was booking it. She was scared to death of that big freaking
Oh,
whale.
wow.
And going to SeaWorld with, 8 people is not cheap. And I think I've told you, I had bought a smoked turkey leg there. That was the only thing that I was looking forward to on that whole day was eating that smoked turkey leg. And she
Mhm.
takes off. I go grab her. Shell says we can't take her back in there. She's scared to death. We head to the car. We get in one of those Texas monsoons. The kid knocks the turkey leg out of my hand and I watch it float away in the parking lot.
Oh my
It was
God.
a $20 turkey leg. And that was not a good day for dad on that night.
Oh,
No.
dear.
So
But
anyway,
it has a long lasting memory.
it does. That it
Well,
does.
here's some help for you. Those turkey legs are all from tom turkeys, which tend to be bigger than the females, and most of them are produced in a factory in Texas, and they are cured the same way you would cure a ham with sodium nitrite.
Right.
And they come out sort of pinkish, and they taste kind of hammy.
Mhm.
And I have the recipe for them on AmazingRibs.com. They're not hard to make. You go out and buy yourself some turkey legs. They don't have to be toms, and follow my recipe, and you can make Disney turkey legs.
Yep.
There you go.
You can. And um that's my last question. This is more of a food question. Do you guys I buy extra legs because the crew that comes here, even though they're not this year, likes dark meat. So I always go to that store I spoke about earlier and I buy 2 or 3, sometimes more. They're usually 2 in a package of the larger tom turkey legs and I smoke them. Plus, when people go to take leftovers home, I notice they tend to take more of the dark meat home than they do the breast meat.
Mhm.
Your crowd's pretty sophisticated.
Well, they're just finicky.
Mhm.
And so I always have right there next to the pecan pie, I've got 2 or 3 turkey legs smoked in the other fridge that because my favorite sandwich is dark meat, white bread, mayo, whatever other stuff you want to put some of the cranberries or whatever, do that. That's my fave. So do you guys cook extra turkey legs?
No,
No.
No.
Okay.
no, they're my brother-in-law does the biggest turkey he can find, fills it with stuffing, and I think my wife picked it up today, a 16-pounder, and I'm gonna break it down and smoke it, and
Do your
there's more than
thing.
enough of everything. Everybody brings I mean, always everybody's going home with foil packets and carry out boxes, and
Right. Go
that's
to the
part of the
dollar
fun.
store and spend $10 for their cheap.
Yeah, that's what you told me you do.
It is a
You
good
bring
it
a whole
is a good
bunch of those
idea.
Yeah.
plastic
Mhm.
tubs.
And I don't
Mhm.
want them back. I
Mhm.
don't want them back. Just take them.
No, it's a great idea.
Little Christmas gift ahead of time. Anyway, we're gonna go meathead. Thank you. Folks,
Hey,
don't
Thank
forget to
you.
go to amazingribs.com. Leanne, Good
Thank
to see you again, my dear. It's been a couple weeks since we actually did
Yes.
this. And you can go to pigpowder.com
Mhm.
and find the pig powder there, and a new
Yep.
flavor coming out after the first year.
Spicy.
Spicy
Yep.
one. Yep, absolutely. And you can
Good
check our
stuff. Good stuff. I love her rubs.
Oh, thank you.
great. And you can check us out on BBQNationJT.com. I'm thinking about combining all the different websites I have to make it a little easier on me, but we'll work on that later. Anyway, we hope that for the three of us, we hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday with family and friends. Don't forget why we do it, besides just eating a lot and watching football games. But go out there, be kind, and take care, everybody.